Feverish you, I will not drop it. Power cowards never stop it. I have nurtured you, corrupted. I am erupting, born interrupted. Careful, I'm a lemon, trap. First of the secondary class. You know I don't trust you, that's the catch. Don't you fucking touch me, I will nash. Cause I am an old phenomenon, and I am an old phenomenon. Show them we believe, see the unforeseen. Sharpen canine teeth, get those ringside seats. When the scorched of the earth come back by sea. Sip on joy, the purest drink. Move to make, thought to think. They can feel us from afar. Avenues and boulevards. I've been so politely at the bottom. Pull it tight, bootstrap, strap it on the top. I've been so politely at the bottom. Pull it tight, bootstrap, strap it on top. I've been so politely at the bottom. 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 I've been so politely at the bottom.
Been doing stand-up for almost 2 years now. He's been studying under the beer comedian Alex Stokes, and last December he opened for Chris Kattan from SNL. Is that true? Did you make that up? That's true. All right, give it up for that, Mr. Sean Dills.
How's everybody doing tonight? So my name's Sean Dills, and don't worry, my parents have already told me I look like a nerdy Hagrid, or according to my girlfriend, a homeless Weird Al. Speaking of my girlfriend, I am in an interracial relationship, dating a beautiful black woman, which is great. People ask me, Sean, what's the difference with being with a white girl versus being with a black girl? It's not a whole lot of difference for me. Like, the biggest difference is when I'm having sex with black women, I play some R&B, play some jazz, you know, something romantic. When I'm having sex with white women, I put on the Goofy movie soundtrack. But I love my girlfriend because before I dated her, I dated a bunch of crazy women. Like, one girl claimed she had demons living inside of her. I had to let her go. She was clearly taken. One girl, she told me that she only dreams of murder and genocide. It's like, what the fuck do you say to that? I was like, well, what race? Not that I'm racist, I just had to sleep next to her. Was also kind of hoping she was going to say Eskimos. One girl, every time we would have sex, she would bite her lip and close one eye. So the whole time we're having sex, I'm trying not to laugh because I'm thinking, this bitch about to drop the dopest Popeye impression out on me. Which, oddly enough, it never killed my boner. Actually, in fact, after a month of dating her, I just started keeping cans of spinach by my bed, just in case. For most of my life, women have been a huge enigma to me. But recently, I've been able to pinpoint the root of my confusion on women. You see, when I was 4, sometimes I would shower with my mom. Yeah, and then I remember one day we're in the shower, I was like, hey mom, where's your wiener? Now for a 4-year-old boy, that's a pretty damn good question. And if you're a parent and you can ask a difficult question, you can answer it one of 2 ways. You can either tell the truth or you can lie. Let's see which one she chose. Hey mom, where's your wiener? Some guy cut it off. Oh shit. My one question is now 102. Who? Oh, just some guy. Is he gonna cut off my wiener? No, he only gets women. Shouldn't we warn them? No, he got us all at once by a shed. My brain was fried. In fact, I went to my kindergarten class the next day. I was staring at a group of girls. Then one of them looks up and he said, "What are you staring at?" I was like, "Don't go near that shed." So I was trying to spice up the relationship in the bedroom with my girlfriend, and I was like, hey sweetie, I sent her 40 pictures of 40 different sexual positions. I was like, all right, pick 5, all right? Let's try 5 new things. She goes, okay, all right. She sends me the 5 back she wants to try out. The first 3, pretty normal stuff. The last 2, not so much. Her 4th pick, she picked pegging. And those of you who don't know what pegging is, that's where your girlfriend puts on a strap on and fucks you with it. So I'm sweating bullets, because I've been dating her 2 years, and she's never mentioned once about penetrating my fucking cinnamon ring. So I'm like, all right, let's just pretend we didn't see number 4. What's number 5? Her 5th pick. She picked pegging. She fucking picked it twice. This whole time I was staring at her in the eyes, I thought that was love. That was lust. She wasn't thinking about us getting married. She was thinking about clapping my fucking cheeks. People ask me, Sean, did you let her do it? Sean, did you let her take her butthole cherry? Now guys, I'm not going to dignify that with an answer. However, you might notice I sit down a little slower than everybody else around here.
Keep it up for Mike D. Give a huge round of applause to the one and only Jake James. Not only a great DJ, but one of the best comedians in Knoxville. We go back a long ways. Let's give it, I'm just going to run through everybody real quick. Another round of applause for Amanda Cruel. Chris Winkle. Haley Jones. And that's it. I banned Sean from doing 2 jokes tonight. I forgot about the 3rd one. Sean Dills, give him a huge round of applause. I ran down the list. I was like, all right, no butt sex tonight. This one, and totally forgot about pegging. All right, we got it. Knock that out of the way. So, thank you all for coming out tonight. It's a great looking crowd. Great. We're just gonna get all these out of the way. What an amazing venue. Yeah. Is it not? In 12 years of doing stand-up, I've always said I wanted to do a bowling alley show. I was thinking more of a bright lights and redneck drunken bowling alley, but this is way, this is fancier than most comedy shows, and I'm still in the bowling alley, so I don't know if I'm going to count this, but we'll see. But a lot of people ask me, like, before the show, especially before the show, they're like, Alex, what type of comedian are you? What do you talk about? I was like, I'll tell you what I don't do, especially living in East Tennessee. I don't do politics and I don't do religion. And they're like, oh, so do you do like current events? I was like, no, I don't do that either. I stay away from that. They're like, so what do you do? Just tell dick jokes? I'm like, no, I don't tell dick jokes. I tell truthful, creative dick stories. That's what I do. And usually at this part of the show, I go through this whole thing. I try to get out of the way of what people think, what celebrity people think I look like. Because it's changed a lot over the last 10 years. But something happened 2 weeks ago that's changed this whole fucking joke, and it's pissed me off. But I'm gonna tell you the story. 10 years ago, everybody's like, oh, you look like Tim Tebow. That was when I was in shape, okay? So we'll just get that out of the way. Not there anymore. Let's move on. Right after that, it moved to, hey, you look like Alec Baldwin. Okay, that's fine. One lady was like, you look like a fat Alec Baldwin. I'm like, that's the same fucking guy. But then everybody started telling me I look like somebody else. Which is fine. People will be like, oh, you look just like him. But 2 weeks ago, shit changed because I was in Gatlinburg at my favorite little dive spot bar, drinking by myself, and one other couple from Massachusetts. That was it. Very nice couple. And my friends in the back, they know what bar I'm talking about. We sit at this bar in Gatlinburg. And it's me on this one side and this one couple from Massachusetts. We're talking the whole time. We're the only people in the bar. And during this conversation, the bartender asked me, she's like, Alex, do you have any shows coming up? Are you going back on tour? Blah, blah, blah. And so this couple is listening. And I know that they're kind of looking at me funny, but I didn't even think about it. So I leave the bar, I tell them bye, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. I'm walking down the strip in Gallimard. 5 minutes later, I get a phone call from the bar, and I'm like, shit, I forgot to pay my tab. Which, I do that a lot. And she's like, oh my God, you're not gonna believe what just happened. I was like, what? She goes, as soon as you got up, walked out the door, the woman from Massachusetts turns to me and goes, oh my God, please tell us we just drank beer with the lead singer from Rascal Flatts. I was like, wait, she didn't think I looked like him? She thought I was him? She's like, oh yeah, no. And she's like, I tried to tell them, but they cut me off, and they're like, yeah, we were taking his picture when he wasn't looking. We took like 30 pictures, sent it to everybody we know in Boston.
Oh my God.
And they all agreed, yeah, that's Rascal Flatts, that's him. I was like, shit. I was like, so did you tell him I wasn't him? She's like, I tried to. I was like, no, he's a comedian and he's going on tour. And they're like, oh yeah, no, that's a front. No, he's faking it. His name's Alex. Yeah, whatever. And I'm like, really? They think the lead singer of Rascal Flatts comes to Gatlinburg on a Tuesday and hangs out at this shit bar by himself? And I was like, are they still there? She's like, matter of fact, they just ordered a drink. And I was like, I think we need to play a prank on some tourists tonight here. I was like, I'll be right back. I said, all I need you to do is leave the front door of the restaurant open. She's like, all right, I got you. So I turned around. I'm walking back, and I see one of my friends, and I was like, hey, you want to go fuck with some tourists? He's like, yeah, I'm in. Because if you say fuck with tourists, we're always in. And so we're walking, I tell him, I was like, this is all you need to do. So we get back to the bar. He stands in the doorway where the door's open. The couple's right there at the bar. I stand like 5 feet away from him in the window to where they can see me. And I can see him perk up a little bit, and they're like, shit, Rascal Flatts is back. He's back, I see him. He's in the window. And then you can see him talking to each other. She's like, no, that's him. And so my friend starts doing what I told him to. He starts going, come on, Gary, just do it once. Just one time. I'm like, no, man, I'm not doing it. I gotta go on tour, I gotta save my voice. He's like, no, Gary, just do it. And just goes back and forth like a minute. And then finally I was like, I set out on a narrow way. And I'm singing this and I'm like, shit, this is really bad. If they believe this, they are dumb as shit. And so I start singing Rascal Flatts. And I look in the window and the woman slams. She's like, I knew it. I knew that was him. She starts running out. I'd already had an exit plan. I ran around, I took off, disappeared. So she never got to see me. And I know it was like a ghost. And so 3 hours later, I see my friend at a different bar, because that's what I do. This is my life. And I was like, hey, how did it go with the people? He's like, oh, well, they came out. And they're like, where did he go? Where did he go? And he's like, who? And they were like, the lead singer of Rascal Flatts. He's like, oh, him. And I was like, they're like, yeah. And he's like, he's really shy. He doesn't like to talk to people. They're like, but he left you this note. And so I signed a note that said, hey, nice to meet you guys. See you in Boston, Gary. And then I put an RF under it because I was like, I don't know how the fuck he signs this shit. So I was like, all right, RF. My friend goes, she immediately pulled out her phone and started looking up ticket sales for Rascal Flatts in Boston. I'm like, oh shit, I may have taken this one too far. But okay. I am the beer comedian. I switched my name to that 4 years ago, and a lot of people were like, so you just tell jokes about beer? I'm like, no, I just do a lot of shows at breweries, and it gets me free beer. So that's pretty much, put it in your name, it works. So whatever you, change your name to anything you want to get free shit. But I used to do comedy clubs. That's how I started out, here in Knoxville at Side. Anybody ever go to Side Splitters Comedy Club back in the day? That's Jake and I both, we started out there. I did comedy clubs primarily for like 5 years, comedy clubs and theaters. And it got so boring because it's the same shit every night. So I got introduced to dive bars, which is the total opposite. And it's like people, if you ever watch the Blues Brothers, it's like that. They throw shit at you, but there's no cage. I've actually had a pool ball thrown at me before, which is cool. Started doing dive bars. Then I discovered breweries, which is kind of like in between. It's kind of like parts of a comedy club because they're a lot quieter, but it's also kind of like a bar. One thing I've noticed touring the country doing bars and breweries is the difference between a guy that goes to a brewery and a guy that goes to a dive bar. The dive bar guy walks into a dive bar, drinks 47 Bud Lights and like 5 shots of Jaeger. I think this is Jake, and he moved that one. Throws some darts, talks to the band during intermission like every time, hits on every woman in the bar, goes in the parking lot, fights his best friend, hops in his truck, goes home. That's the bar guy. I've done dive bars with Jake before, and he's told stories that's even scared me. So, he's like, yeah, I did. They were true. But the brewery guy, and I'm basing this off of Knoxville breweries. The brewery guy walks into a brewery and he stops. And he scans the entire room looking for another guy that's got a big beard and wearing a Star Wars t-shirt like him. And for the next 3 hours, they're gonna sit there and drink IPAs and talk while playing Connect 4 and petting dogs. And then they walk out the door, hop on a scooter, fucking ride down the road and do it all over again. Find one Star Wars t-shirt guy and follow him from the whole day. They start at 11 in the morning. By the end of the night, you'll get to the last one, you got a fucking whole team of stormtroopers coming right at you. IPA stormtroopers. But my wife and I, we like to play this game. We created our own beer game. Like, I love craft beer. It's great. But we created this game called Naked Beer Sampling. Anybody else play this? No, I'm going to tell you how it works. It's a lot of fun. So it's real simple. It's her favorite game that we play all these different board games and shit, but she loves Naked Beer Sampling. And how it works is you go out and get one of the sampling kits, like with the little board with 6 little slots, the wooden thing. Go get a big 6-pack from your local brewery or the grocery store. Fill them all up. You get naked. Then you put on a blindfold and you taste them. It's her favorite game. Favorite game ever. Every single time we play it, I have to call her afterwards and tell her which ones I think she would have liked. This one's been a slow mover for like 3 weeks now. I was like, it takes a long time to get her out of the room. They're like, wait, so she's not there. He's playing this by himself? Okay, I got it. Speaking of that, my wife, my amazing wife, just graduated veterinary school at UT last week. Yeah. And one thing before I talk about that, the coolest thing about my wife, I've been doing stand-up 12 years. We've been together 10 years. In 10 years, she has never missed a single show I've ever done, from New York to LA to Chicago. So guys, give her a huge round of applause. Yeah. Yeah, she's not here tonight, so she's like a bowling alley. Fuck, I knew this was coming. All right, never mind, I'm not going. But, no, she did graduate veterinary school, which is awesome because we got 4 kids. And the fact that she was able to do that is the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life. These last 4 years have been the worst of all time. But she did it. I'm proud of her. And now that she's done, I was able to go back and enroll in school myself. So thank you. Yeah. Don't get too excited. Literally, it's 1 class at Pillsbury State for sex ed, so I can learn how to do that again. I told her that joke, and she's like, honey, it's not going to be that bad when we start having sex again. It's going to be like riding a bicycle. And I was like, that might be hard for me, because I've been fucking riding a unicycle for 4 years. I don't know what to do with my hands now. Not many unicycle fans in there? Okay. Oh, so, my son, I've got a son that's going to play college basketball in Pennsylvania. He just signed a few weeks ago, so that's cool. It's cool, but he's going to it's like a Christian college, but they're not really that strict. We went on the visit, and literally, we're in Pennsylvania, like near Pittsburgh in March. Everybody in there is as white as you can, like super white. Like there's no sun in Pennsylvania in March. Or ever, I don't think. Everybody was super white, but every 30 minutes, we're doing this campus tour with the coach. Every 30 minutes, some really hot girl that was super tan with a plaid skirt and a backpack would walk by and be like, "Hey coach, new recruit?" And I was like, okay. I looked at his stepdad, I was like, this is weird. Where'd she come from? Like another, she just fly in? 30 minutes later, here comes another one. I'm like, okay, this is getting weird. After about 5 of these, I got so upset, I was like, I gotta call the dean of the college that I went to 30 years ago and asked if I had any eligibility left to play basketball. And I'm trying new shit, so I'm gonna get to the old stuff. Who else drinking? Actually, I coached this basketball team. So I've been nostalgic these last few weeks with him going off to play college in Pennsylvania. I remember back when I started coaching his team when he was 6 years old. And it's one of those leagues here in Knoxville where they have a draft. Like, all the coaches get in this one room, there's like 8 coaches, everybody drafts all these kids that nobody knows anything about. And it's like, oh, his name sounds cool, we'll take him. Well, unfortunately, the night they had the draft, I had a show in Kansas City. So I was out of town, and they're like, oh, if you're not here, that's fine. We'll draft your team for you according to the rules. I was like, all right, cool. Well, to make it even worse, something else happened. I can't remember what it was, but they're like, also, you're not going to get to practice. Your first game is going to be the week when you get back, so there's no practice. So I'm going to meet my team for the first time at our first game. I got their uniforms in my car, never even met the kids. And my son was really good back then, but I didn't know it. So I get to the gym, first game. I walk in, and I'm looking around. I'm like, this seems weird. I started giving the jerseys out to the kids. I was like, my kids don't look right. There's something wrong with all of them. So then the team start warming up. I'm watching the other team. They're doing like military drills in perfect form on their layups. I look down at my team. I've got 2 kids on my team that thought they were vampires, just running around in circles going, hey, I'm a vampire, I'm a vampire. I'm like, oh fuck. They weren't even in line. Like I had 2 layup lines going, they were in the middle, just like doing circles, vampire dance. And then I couldn't even yell at them because I had another little kid that came up to me, he's like, hey, coach, before the game starts, I have to eat a hot dog or I can't play. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I have to eat a hot dog or I can't play the game. He's like, who said that? He's like, I did, and I need a hot dog. I was like, where's your mom? He's like, there's my mom sitting right there, and I look at the stands, and she's waving at me. I'm like, you go tell your fucking mom to give you a Snickers or something. We got a game in like 4 minutes. So he just runs off. And now the way this league works, before the game starts, they line the kids up face to face. And that way they know who they're guarding, because at 6 years old, you don't really know what's going on. So we're standing there, I'm right here, coach is on the other side, my kids are on this side, his kids are on that side. They're all staring at each other. And the other coach, he's all like serious. He's like, so kids, I want you to look at the kid standing in front of you. Remember his face. That's who you're gonna be guarding the whole game. And then everybody just looks at me, and it's like, oh shit, I gotta give a speech. So I'm like, I look at my kids, which all 5 had chapped lips and had comb their hair in 3 days, including my own son. I'm like, hey, I want you to look at the kid standing in front of you, remember his face, because that's going to be your own personal bully for the next 45 minutes. Shit. So the game starts. It's terrible. It's terrible. The other team's like layup after layup after layup. My whole team had formed some kind of freakish circus line, and we're running by the bench going, hey coach, we're all vampires. We're all vampires. I'm like, shit. The other 2 bit the other 3. Now I got a whole vampire team now. So halftime rolls around, I look up and the score is 40-2. 40-2, I was so mad. I got the team in the huddle. I mean, I was so mad, I literally spilled the vodka out of my Gatorade bottle. I was like, that's how mad I was. And I looked at him, I was like, guys, seriously, can somebody on this damn team tell me how in the world we scored 2 points? That's the end of the joke. There's nothing else. This COVID thing's been weird. I remember when it first happened, I had a 60-city tour from New York to LA, all booked. I was so excited. I was going, finally. My kids were getting older. My wife was in school. I was like, I'm going. And overnight, all of it got canceled. Fortunately for me, and all the other comedians in the country, it happened to everybody, so I didn't feel sorry for myself. Fortunately for me, though, I live in East Tennessee, where COVID does not exist, and I was still able to keep doing shows. Instead of New York, LA, Chicago, mine was Pigeon Forge, Rogersville, and Maynardville, but still, I was still in front of people doing shows. But it was funny, I was actually in Rogersville the night that I found out I had COVID. I was in this packed bar. I mean, it was packed, probably 150 people in this small, probably about the size of this room, just packed. So I'm on stage, I'm doing an hour, I'm 30 minutes in, and I was like, I need a beer. So I ordered a beer from the waitress. I asked her over, she came over, she's like, what do you want? I was like, whatever IPA you got, that's fine with me. So she comes back, she hands me a Corona, and it was Rogersville. I was impressed. I was impressed that they let Corona across the Jefferson County border, much less out. So I took a sip while I was on stage, and I couldn't taste it. And I first accredited that to the fact that it was Corona, and then I smelled it and I was like, shit, can't smell it, can't drink it, can't taste it, nothing. I was like, I got COVID. And I'm looking at the room, I'm like, I don't know the protocol, because it was still pretty early in this whole thing. I was like, what's the protocol for getting COVID while you're on stage in a room of 100 and some people? I was like, do I just drop the mic and sprint out to the parking lot going, I got COVID, see you later. But then I looked around the room, and I was like, wait, this is Rogersville. Everybody in here's got fucking COVID. I was like, all right, we're just gonna do it. So I finished the show. Next morning I went and got tested, obviously positive. Did somebody woo-hoo that? Woo-hoo, that's awesome. Kevin's great. They quarantined me for 14 days. This is back, like I said, back during the whole, when it was really serious. And so my wife was nice enough, she's like, hey, you can have the bedroom for 14 days, I'll sleep on the couch. I was like, cool. 14 days I was stuck in the bedroom. 14 days, that's 14 days of no sex. Which was, we got dangerously close to breaking our record of no sex of 678 days. Like, I was getting worried. She doesn't like that one, but she's not here, so she doesn't like it because it's true. What's that? But it was weird too, like during the serious part of COVID when we couldn't leave our house, like you got so bored. Did you guys not get terribly bored? Like a 10-minute shower would turn into like 45 minutes of you just standing in front of the mirror naked going, so this is what I got. Because usually I'd just take a shower, make sure my hair looked good, and then I was out the door. But now I'm just like, I got nothing else to do but look at this, and I'm like, shit. And they tell you when you get in your 40s, you start growing hair in weird places, which is true, like your nose, your ears, just on your back, weird shit. That's all true. One thing they don't tell you, you start losing hair in weird places. Do I have anybody over 40 in here that will agree with me? Not women, that's not helping me at all. You start losing hair in weird places, they don't tell you. You know what happened to me? One day during COVID, I reached back and scratched my ass, and it was so smooth, I turned myself on. That's how odd. I have nothing here. That was a weird fact to tell everybody. Last year, things started opening up, the kids started going back to school. I've got 3 teenage boys. They can all drive, they're all like 16, 17, 18. Two are hers, one's mine. So they all can drive, they all go to high school. But I started figuring out a pattern. They would go to school for 2 weeks, and then they would each get COVID and be home for like 10 days. And then it would start over. But they were doing it in cycles. Like I'd have 1 ounce. I was like, wait, you should all have it. So this keeps going on. It took me months to figure out that they were all dating the same woman at Walgreens. And so I got mad and went down there to confront her, and she was actually pretty hot. I was surprised that my kids did that well. And then the next day I tested positive and have every 2 weeks since then. Stupid. Oh, so when I first started doing stand-up, all the other comedians in Knoxville, it's probably Jake that started it, told me I was Knoxville's metrosexual comic. That's what they referred me to. 12 years ago. 12 years ago, nobody knew what metrosexual meant around here. They're like, oh, he's got spiky hair and cool shoes. He's metrosexual. I was fine with it. I was like, yeah, whatever. If that's what you want to call me. I think I even got business cards that said that on there. I was like, hey, I'm Knoxville's metrosexual comic. I don't know what the fuck that means, but that's who I am. Cool. It was all cool until they introduced me that way at a dive bar in Alcoa. Who all ever goes to Alcoa on purpose? All right. I do this show in Alcoa, and it's like Alcoa's got a lot of dive bars. This is the dive bar of all dive bars. Who all's ever been to the bullpen? I already knew you'd been there. I could tell. The day I met you a few weeks ago, I was like, he's a bullpen guy.
I am the bullpen.
God, it may be you that I'm getting ready to talk about in this joke. I come off stage. They had introduced me as Knoxville's metrosexual comic. I walk off stage. There's this guy already waiting on me. He's just standing there at the bottom of the steps. And I was like, hey, what's going on? He's like, all right, man, tell me. So are you like almost gay? Or are you like super gay? I'm like, dude, first of all, that doesn't even make any sense. Second of all, you just listened to me talk about my wife the entire time I was up here. It's like, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm almost gay. And then 2 years ago, I wrote a children's book about a bear in Gatlinburg called The City Bear and the Smokies. So as soon as the book came out, I went on Facebook, Instagram, everything. I asked all my friends, I was like, hey guys, could you please share my book? Everybody's like, did such a great job at it. And then I had this one friend, this guy is a pillar of the gay community. This guy has over 500,000 followers on his Tumblr, his Facebook, Instagram, everything, and they're all guys. He sends me a message, he's like, Alex, you want me to share your book? I was like, dude, that would be so awesome, I really appreciate it. He's like, no problem, I got you. Well, there was a problem, because instead of him sharing a picture of my children's book, he dug deep down into my Facebook profile pictures, found a picture of me standing on the side of the road in New Mexico 10 years ago during my Tebow days with my shirt unbuttoned wearing a cowboy hat. That's what he posted and said, buy his book. And I was like, great. No joke, within 2 hours, I had over 500 private messages from guys all over the world. Do you have any idea how many dick pics I had to send out that night? It's my number one selling book. Oh, but I am married. I got a hot wife, which is cool. Yeah, thank you. I never met her, but it's okay. It's cool having a hot wife, right, guys? Married guys? Oh God, you all are getting the shit beat out of you tonight. I can see. Y'all are done. You guys are going to be going home going, it was cool having a hot ex-wife, but now I'm done. It's cool having a hot wife. However, there are certain situations when having a hot wife can be detrimental. Like when you walk down the street, guys will yell and stuff. I was doing a show in Asheville, North Carolina, and during the daytime, my wife and I like to shop around. So we're walking down the street, and these two guys walk by, and one of them yelled, nice ass. Well, I got pissed. I'd heard enough all day long of this. So I turned around, I was like, yeah, say it again. He goes, ooh, nice ass and feisty. It's Phil Hawk, sorry. But my wife and I, we have a weird relationship. We do, especially with her being in school. This happened last year, I think February. I was in Gatlinburg at the same bar I was talking about before. And I'm talking to some people. I'm just like having this normal conversation with a bunch of tourists. And my wife calls, I'm like, oh, excuse me, just 1 second. I answer the phone and she is in a complete panic. Like freaking out. I was like, honey, what's wrong? She's like, yeah, it's the TV. You gotta fix the TV. Now we live in West Knoxville. I'm in Gatlinburg. I'm like, I can't fix the TV from here. And rewind, for Christmas, she had given me a 55-inch smart TV, and she made the dumb decision of letting me set it up. And I do not know anything about technology at all. She's like, I'm gonna take the dog to the dog park, you set up the TV. I was like, okay, cool, I got it. Hulu, Netflix, how hard can this be? Fast forward, 2 months later, I'm talking to these people, I step away, she's like, it's the TV, you gotta fix the TV. I was like, what's wrong with the TV? She's like, there's a weird screensaver. I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do about it? She's like, I don't know. And I was like, what's on it? She's like, well, here's what happened. I was watching TV, and I paused it, went to the kitchen, made some popcorn, came back, and the screensaver, it's all over the TV. I was like, what is it? Why don't you just tell me? She's like, it's your dick. There are 88 pictures of your dick on our TV right now. It looks like Family Feud, just or whatever, just like little boxes of your dick. All the way. I was like, what? I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. She's like, I don't know how it happened. She's like, but your dick's all over a TV, and I need you to get it off right now, like fix it. And I'm like, honey, I'm in Gatlinburg. I don't even know how this happened. It takes us like 3 or 4 minutes, we figure out. Then when I signed up, I put my Gmail in. And when I put my Gmail in, our smart TV decided, hey, you know what would be a good screensaver? Let's use all the pictures that they sexted to each other 10 years ago when they were dating. But we won't use any of hers. We'll just multiply his dick 88 times. We'll do that one. So I'm like, honey, I don't know what you want me to do. I was like, just change the Gmail. Put a different email in. I don't care. She's like, it was too late now. I was like, why? She's like, my brother saw it, all of it. I was like, first of all, why is your brother there? Where'd he come from? And second of all, I don't know what to do about it. And all I can hear in the background is her brother yelling. He's just going, tell him to just get it off, 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 over and over. And I told her, I was like, honey, you need to tell him that you've been trying to scream at it for 9 years and that hasn't gotten it off. Tell him to see if this smart TV has a touch screen, because that might do it. So if anybody needs my email, I can hook up your TV. So comedy's weird. Dick stories right here. I'm going back to back. I'm totally back to back. Comedy's weird. I've been, like I said, 12 years. I've done everything you can ever imagine. I've even written a book about all the weird shows I've ever done. I mean, I've done a show in a yoga studio while they were doing yoga, which I didn't know that until it started, and had 10 asses in my face. So, yeah, there's no joke there. It's just like, this is the stuff that we do. But there's this one show I do every year in Cincinnati. Every Halloween, I did this show for this family at their house, and I met them in Gatlinburg years ago. And so I go to this house, and they have a full arcade. They've got a zip line in their backyard. They've got this huge bar, 3-level deck, that's where I perform at. But the coolest thing out of all of this is they have a haunted house that they spend 6 months out of the year building in their basement. And it's like serious, like characters, actors, all of it in this haunted house. And so every year that I go, that's my favorite part, and I look forward to that more than anything. And they always like to just get me drunk before my show, because they think it's funny that I can't remember any of my punchlines. Like, they really do. They think it's funny. Like, I'm sitting there looking at a guy dressed like Captain Spaulding 2 feet in front of me, and I'm wasted, like, trying to remember if my wife's hot or not. It's like, I don't even know if she is anymore at this point. So this happens every year. So last year, this past year, I went there to do the show. And the way it always works, 8 o'clock, is when I go, no, 8 o'clock, the haunted house starts. 9 o'clock, I go on stage. So 8 o'clock comes around, they're like, haunted house is open. There's like 150 people at this party. So I'm the first one in line. I hop in front of everybody. I was like, hey, back off. I gotta go on stage, so I gotta go through this real quick. So I go through it. It's like 6 minutes. I come out, and there's this girl. She's just standing there, and she's like, hey, what'd you think? I was like, oh, it was great. This is probably the best one they ever did. She's like, yeah, I thought so too. I was like, cool. She's like, what'd you think about all the dicks? I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. She's like, yeah, there's like 6 dicks in the haunted house, like all hidden. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, there were 6 hidden fake dicks all throughout the haunted house. I was like, well, I didn't see any. I was like the most disappointed face you could ever have of not seeing 6 dicks. That's the one I had. I was like, what? I didn't see any of them. And she's like, well, you gotta go on stage now. I'm like, fuck. Because now I just want to see the dicks now, and I'm like, I don't even want to do my show. So I get on stage, and all these people are there, and I'm just like going through the motions, like I have no energy. I don't even care about my show anymore. Like I'm just, all I want to do is go on a dick hunt, and that's like all I'm thinking. And so I'm just like hurrying through my jokes. I'm like, it's like, all right, I got time. So I get done, I go in there, and I have my own refrigerator, like a little mini fridge, and it says comedian on it, and they put 30, this is how much these people are trying to kill me. They put 36 high gravity IPAs in there every year for me. And then a lot of whiskey and bourbon, and I'm like, okay. So I go in there, I grab a beer, I get back in line for the haunted house. Like, this is all I care about now. Just find them. I gotta find 6 dicks before this party ends. So at this point, it's like 10:30. So I get in line, I go through the haunted house. I weave my way in through it's like 5 rooms, it's really dark. I come out, that same girl is standing there. It's like she was stalking me. I came out, she's like, so, how'd you do? I was like, I found 1 dick. She's like, what, you got 5 to go? I'm like, motherfucker. So I run back to the mini fridge, I grab 2 more beers. I'm like, I gotta go 2 beers on this one. Get back in line. I do this for 3 hours. It's like beer, dick hunt, beer, dick hunt. Like it's this weird cycle. So it's almost 1 o'clock, I think, in the morning. The party's dwindling down. The owners of the house come out, and they're like, hey, we're shutting the haunted house down. Everybody go down to the yard. We're having a bonfire. We got a big screen up. We're gonna watch a movie. And that girl, she looks at me and she goes, what are you gonna do? And I was like, I'll meet you down there. I got 2 dicks left, and I'll be there. So everybody leaves. They shut the haunted house off, which means they turned all the lights off in it. All the actors left. And so I was like, all right, I gotta be serious about this. So I grabbed 2 more beers, got my phone flashlight on. Now I'm 48 years old, walking through a haunted house in somebody's basement in Cincinnati looking for dicks. And then that's when it hit me. I was like, this is stupid, but I'm not stopping now until I find all 6. I literally go in there, I'm sitting on the floor in this haunted house with the light, just going, all right, there's 2 dicks. But I would do this for like 15 minutes in each room. I'd be like, all right, I already got that. Went to the next room and did this. So I get to the very end, and I saw there was this big sink, which is like floating, like rubber body parts, like organs, hearts, and stuff just floating on the top of the water. And I'm like, oh, there's totally a dick in there. I was like, I know. So, no joke, now I'm rolling my sleeves up and reaching in this bloody looking water. You know what I found? Dick. I found number 5. I came back out, grabbed 1 more beer. I said, I'm giving it 1 more run, and then I'm done. I'm giving up. Go back in, couldn't find the 6th one. I was so pissed. I was so mad. So I walked down to the bonfire. Well, the people that owned the house didn't even know I was still there anymore. They were like, we haven't seen you in like 5 hours. I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. But that girl was still there. And so she has this look on her face, and she looks over, she's like, hey. She's like, did you find all the dicks? And the owners are like, what are you talking about? And she's laughing. I'm like, I found 5 of them. The owner's like, what are you talking about? I was like, she told me y'all put 6 fake dicks in this haunted house, and I've been looking for them for hours and only found 5. They start crying, laughing. I'm like, what's so funny? They're like, we only put a 4-pack in there. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, there were only 4. I was like, I found 5. They're like, well, you found a real dick, and you had the most fun at this party than anybody else. Anyways, so I teach this class, stand up. Round of applause to my students tonight. They did so well. This is a hard job. The way my class works. Bowling alley kicked in. There we go. The way my class works, it's an 8-week non-credit class, so anybody can take my class. I've had a 14-year-old high school student take it until they banned that, because we can't do that anymore. We tried it. Yeah. And I've had an 85-year-old retired Southern Baptist preacher take my class twice. So I've had 5 preachers. I get real estate agents, I get attorneys, I get anything and everything in between. 99% of the people that take my class don't want to be a stand-up comedian because they're intelligent. But every once in a while, I will get somebody that actually wants to do comedy, and which is cool. So a couple years ago, I had this one guy in my class. He was fascinated. I could tell from day one this guy really wanted to be a comedian. So anything I was ever doing, he was like, hey, can I come? Can I come? I was like, sure. So one day, I post on Facebook in the morning, I was like, hey guys, I got a big show in Tazewell tonight. Anybody want to come? I'll see you there. He immediately texted me, he's like, hey, Alex, can I go with you? I want to see what it's like to be a comedian out on the road. He's like, dude, we're fucking going to Tazewell. It's like a straight shot. But I was like, cool. We can pretend it's LA, and we're just gonna, we'll pretend Maynardville's something better than it is. And so he's like, I'll even drive. I'm like, even better? Okay, cool. So he picks me up, we're driving, we pass Maynardville. He turns to me in the car and goes, Alex, what are you gonna talk about tonight? And I was like, well, I usually start out my show with telling people that I'm almost gay, and he slams the brakes on and we run off the road. And I just look at him, I was like, dude, what's going on with that? He's like, you can't say that in Tazewell. They're gonna kick our ass. I was like, what? I was like, I've done this all over the country. We're gonna be fine. He's like, you can't say that in Tazewell. They're gonna beat us up. I was like, dude, don't worry about it. We're gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be normal. So we drive to Tazewell. Now this show in Tazewell, I knew it was gonna be a good one because they were paying a lot of money. But I was like, why is they paying so much in Tazewell? But I looked up, the 10 comedians they had booked before me had all been on HBO, Comedy Central, you name it, in Tazewell. So I got the GPS on, he's not talking to me anymore. Like he's just, I couldn't believe he didn't even turn around and tell me to Uber, which I was like, well, that would have sucked, Ubering in Maynardville, but, tractor Uber. But, so we get there and I was like, yep, looks like we're here. And I look up and there's a line of people who paid $25 a ticket to get into this show. And it's in between a Walmart and a Payless shoe store. And I'm like, oh fuck, all right, maybe we should have turned around. And, but we go in, my student gets a seat right next to the exit door. Like, shit's going down at our show, he already knows it. So he's sitting right next to the exit door, I'm like, whatever. I get in there, the show is incredible. Like, it's packed, fun show, everybody was amazing. I was 55 minutes into my show, had 2 jokes left, and I didn't know that there was a bathroom behind the stage. Like, I had no idea. Well, I'm getting ready to start my next to last joke, and this little dude walks out from the bathroom and just looks at me on the stage with one eye closed going. I'm like, oh shit, I can't let that go. Now I gotta say something to him. So all I said was, dude, how drunk are you that you can't keep both of your eyes open? The entire room loses it, and starts crying, they're falling out of their seats laughing. I'm like, why are they laughing? That wasn't that funny. And the guy gets back to his seat and turns around and goes, man, I only got one eye. It's like, oh shit. It's like I made it through everything else except for the one I got now. With 11 years, I never had that problem at that point. So I don't know what to do. So I asked these two girls in the front row, I'm like, hey, does that dude only got one eye? They're like, yep, he only got one. I'm like, oh shit. So finally the dude stands up, he goes, hey, I'm gonna do you a favor. I'm gonna go stand outside and smoke so you can finish your show. Is that cool? I was like, dude, that's the nicest thing anybody has ever done for me at a show. Ever. So he walks outside to smoke. Everybody gets quiet. And I'm just looking around the room and I'm like, you know what? I think this entire room is pranking me at this moment. So I go, seriously, does that little fucker only got one eye? That's all I said. And all you could hear was the dude from outside go, hey, I might be half blind, but I ain't fucking deaf. And I was like, okay. I looked at my student, I was like, good call on the exit door. Go ahead and get the car. And so that was that. There's more to that story, but we're going to skip that. Ended up in the other Tazewell in the back of a pickup truck later, so the one that has alcohol. And then there might be a student that's in the room tonight that had probably the most awkward moment I've had teaching this class. So during COVID, they canceled all of my classes until I think it was October of that year, 2020. And they were like, all right, we're going to let you have your class at UT, but everybody's got to wear a mask. I was like, all right, cool. So I show up to the class. Everybody in the room has a mask on except for one guy. And this guy's got a lot of medical issues, so I was like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. Well, then out of nowhere, the dean of UT walks into my room. And when I say the dean of UT, picture what you think a dean looks like plaid shirt with a bow tie. That's him. He comes into my room. And I'm like, oh shit, what's he doing here? In 5 years of teaching this class, the dean has never walked in. He walks in, he's like, Alex, I need to talk to you. That student either has to leave or we got to cancel the class. Like, everybody has to wear a mask. And so they had this long discussion. I was like, I'll let you guys figure it out. So the next week for my class, I show up and the dean is sitting outside my classroom. Just sitting there, I was like, what are you doing? He's like, well, here's what we're gonna do. The one student that can't wear a mask because of medical reasons, I'm gonna live stream your show, your class. I'm gonna live stream it, we're gonna Zoom it, all of it for the one student. I was like, you've never listened to my class before, have you? I was like, they're allowed to say whatever they want, and you're the dean of UT. I was like, this is weird. He's like, oh, it'll be fine, don't worry about it, it's all good. I was like, oh, fuck. So we get in the class, I've got 7 students. Everybody's wearing a mask, and their assignment from week 1 to week 2 was to just pick a topic, any word, phrase, whatever. Just pick a topic, and as a class, we're gonna write jokes about it. I was like, oh God, I know this is gonna go bad, I already knew it. So I get up there, I got the board up here I'm writing on. The dean is sitting right here. He's got his mask on with the camera, and he's just like, hey. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I asked the class, I was like, who wants to go first? Who's got, a topic? So one of my students, who's sitting in this room right now, goes, I'll go first. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, what's your topic? I got the pen out. He goes, rim jobs. I was like, seriously? We went straight to rim jobs. Like, in 5 years, I've never even had that topic. And the one night the dean's here, so I gotta write that up on the board. And I look over at the dean, and he's like, his head's shaking. I'm like, is he laughing, or is he having a seizure? I don't know, because he's got a mask on. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, this is my job. I gotta keep going. I was like, all right, what's the first word you associate with rim jobs? I'm getting quieter. And he goes, my student goes, my mom. I'm like, what the hell? So now, this is all that's written, rim job, and my mom, and then it just keeps getting weird. It's like Cleopatra and Hemingway, and I'm like, where is this joke going? So this goes on for a while, and then I've got this other student who's a magician, a retired Las Vegas magician in my class. He's a little bit older. So he's sitting in the back of the room, he raises his hand, and I was like, yeah, what do you want? Because at this point, I'm already frustrated. I was like, what do you want? He's like, man, I've been listening to this rim job stuff for like 10 minutes and I still don't know what it means. I'm like, oh God, this could not have gotten any worse. So the dean of UT turns around in his bow tie. He's like, hey, do us all a favor, pull out your phone, go to Urban Dictionary, type that word in, and we're all good. I was like, thank you, Mr. Dean, man. All right, cool. So I turn back around, I go to the next student, I'm writing stuff on the board, and then the whole class starts dying laughing. I'm like, what are they laughing at? I turn around, the magician has fallen back in his chair up against the wall, like pinned himself with his phone, and everybody's dying laughing. I was like, what's so funny? He goes, hey, Mr. Dean, man, I just looked up that word. Why didn't you just tell me it meant eating ass? I was like, oh my God. I was like, I had a good run teaching this class, I really did. So, this is all 100% true story. So after the class, I go to the dean, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I was like, I tried to warn you before, I can't control what my students say. Like, they can say whatever they want. That's the whole purpose of this class. He's like, Alex, I've been with the University of Tennessee 30 years. This is the best night I've ever had at UT. I was like, better than national championship? Okay, cool. But even funnier, 2 weeks later, my class is performing at Crafty Bastard Brewery. It's their first performance. They have to perform 4 times during my class. So they're at Crafty Bastard. The show's getting ready to start. We're outside, and I look over it, and here comes the dean walking in with his bow tie on. I was like, what? He's never come to a show before. Oh my God. I walked up and I was like, hey, what are you doing here? He's like, oh yeah, I really just wanted to come and see how that rim joke turned out. You know, I'm pretty excited about it for the last couple of weeks. I was like, oh my God. So we're all clear now. If you want to take my class, say whatever you want. We've already gone way past what I thought we could. Fine, we'll go all night. I'll try to do it. A lot of comedians have weird fans, as musicians do. We all have weird fans. I will put my weirdest fan up against anybody's in the country. I don't care how famous they are. I don't care if it's Chris Rock. I don't care if it's Leno. I don't give a shit, Bill Burr, any of them. I will put my weirdest fan up against any of theirs. And it started 11 years ago. I was doing a show in Dalton, Georgia at a place called Mr. T's Pizza and Ice Cream. Who all goes there a lot? Hey, I always ask because every once in a while we get like, woo, Mr. T's. And I was like, where did that guy come from? But it was a great show. It was like a lot of the best up-and-coming comedians from like Nashville, Chattanooga, Memphis, Atlanta would all go to this little place in Dalton, Georgia. And it would be like 100, 150 people in a show. So I go do this show 11 years ago. Now, back then I used to tour with 2 other guys, and we were called the Midlife Crisis Comics. You remember the MLC, which is funny because when I started comedy, I was 36, and so right off the bat they asked me, they're like, Alex, do you want to be a part of the Midlife Crisis Comics? And I'm like, do I look like a guy that's in a midlife crisis? And they're like, well, you're 36 years old, you've been divorced 2 times, you got 2 kids, and you drive a Kia. Oh, and you color your hair. You always sit down when you pee, and recently in a drunken rage you shaved your entire upper body while crying and looking at a Men's Health magazine. And I was like, I don't know where you guys got your information from, but you've got a really good source. So I joined this group. So we went down to Dalton. I get back that night from the first time. We drive back to Knoxville. I get right on Facebook, and I got a message from this guy. He was like, hey man, you were my favorite comedian tonight. I was like, dude, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. That was really nice of you. He's like, yeah, man, I really like your shoes. I was like, yeah, me too. That's why I wore them. That was cool. He's like, you want to sell me your shoes? I was like, the ones I wore tonight? He's like, yeah, I'll buy them from you right now. I was like, dude, that's creepy. No, that's weird. He's like, oh man, I didn't mean to creep you out at all. I'm so sorry. I was like, don't worry about it. It's fine. He goes, so you want him to sell me your socks that you were wearing tonight? I was like, okay, now you creep me out. I was like, no, and I just like logged off of Facebook. I was like, forget this, that was creepy. 6 months later, I get booked back at Mr. T's Pizza and Ice Cream. So I go on Facebook that morning, I was like, hey, Dalton, I'm coming your way tonight. immediately this guy messaged me. Hey man, remember me? I was like, no. And he's like, I'm the one that wants to buy your socks. I was like, oh shit, yeah, now I do. I tried to forget. He's like, seriously, I saw you were coming tonight. I want to buy your socks. I was like, dude, I don't want to sell my socks. I was like, I don't understand what's happening with all of this. He's like, I will pay you a lot of money to buy your dirty socks. Just bring them with you tonight and we'll do it. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. He's like, all right, sorry I asked you. So my friends get there, they start honking the horn, and at this point, I'm a single dad with 2 kids. It was before I got remarried. So I'm like running down the hall with my notebook to go to the show. I run past the laundry room and I'm like, well, just in case. So just like, I grab like 4 pair of dirty socks out of the laundry, throw them in a Kroger bag, run downstairs, get in the car with my friends. First question, hey, what's in the Kroger bag? I'm like, don't ask questions, drive me to Georgia. So now I'm in the back seat. I'm in the back seat this whole time with them. And I'm texting this guy and I'm like, all right, so how's this gonna work? He's like, yeah, you just bring the socks and I'll pay you for them. I'm like, how much are we talking here? He goes, I'll give you $500 a pair. I'm like, oh shit, okay, I'm doing this now. That was a game changer. I was thinking like 20 bucks maybe. So I'm like, all right, so how does this work? He's like, all right, when you get to Chattanooga, get off this exit number, go to the Pilot gas station, stall number 3 in the men's bathroom. I'm like, no, fuck no, I'm not doing that. No. I was like, come to my show. There's a parking lot across the street from the venue. I'll put the socks on my friend's tire. I don't want to meet you. You just bring an envelope with money, you put it back on the tire, and you get the socks, and that's it. He's like, fine, we'll do that. I was like, cool. I got 4 pair in there for you. He's like, all right, cool. So I get to the show. Now I have to tell my friends what's going on. He's looking at me weird because I'm putting a Kroger bag full of socks on his tire. He's like, is this some new comedy thing we do? I was like, yeah, this is what we do now. It's for good luck. So I tell him, I was like, hey, here's what's going on. I'm selling my socks to this guy. And one of the guys was like, oh, I didn't even know you made socks. I was like, nope, don't make them. Don't make socks, just do comedy. And I was like, this guy wants to buy my used socks. He saw us last time we were here and he liked them. And he's like, okay. And they're like, that's fucking sick. I was like, just don't tell anybody else what's going on. Because there's like 8 other comedians, a couple famous ones. They're like, oh, no, we got you. They turn around, all the other comedians are sitting on the balcony looking at the parking lot. They get out of their car and they're like, hey, Alex is selling his fucking dirty socks to some dude. I'm like, oh my God. So we get in there, now everybody, all the comedians are just staring at the parking lot. We're all just like watching it. Listen, I don't know what kind of car the guy drives. I don't even know if the guy's real. I don't know what's going on. So we stare at it. It finally gets dark. They call me to go up on stage. I'm up there like 20, 30 minutes. I come off, all the comedians, other comedians are just standing there and their eyes are like huge. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, yeah man, while you were up there, like this black BMW 750 pulled up real fast in the gravel and dude jumps out, grabs your socks, and he left you this. And there was an envelope and I opened it up, there's $2,200 in there. I was like, shit, that was real? That was my first question, shit, that was real. Second question was, why is there an extra $200 in there? So I pull out my phone, I go to Facebook, and he had sent me a message while I was on stage. He's like, hey man, I came, I got your socks, got home, you had actually put an extra sock in there, so I turned around and I came back and gave you another $200. I was like, dude, I don't even go back to Taco Bell when they fuck my order up. That's weird. Dude, whatever. So we get in the car, I tell my friends, I was like, that was the creepiest, grossest thing I've ever done in my life. I was like, I'm glad I made the money. I really needed it because I'm a single dad. I'm never doing this ever again in my life. So the next 6 months, I made 12 grand off this guy. Oh yeah, I woke up the next morning, I was like, no, what the hell was I thinking? This is easy. So I start drop shipping socks to this dude. I'm like, every week I'm like, just shipping them. And then he's like, hey, if you jog around for a little bit, I'll give you $7.50 a pair. I'm like, oh, okay, I can do this. So now I'm in my house just jogging around, making grocer socks for some dude in Georgia that I've never met. So this is going on for a long time. For like a year or two, I'm just shipping this guy socks. Well, then I meet my wife. I meet her, and we'd both been divorced before, both had kids, so it was a real quick. We met, got engaged pretty quick, if you guys remember. It was really fast. And so we're out to dinner one night. I had not told her any of this, because I just didn't even think to tell her. We're out to dinner one night, and it's like 2 weeks before we're about to get married. We're sitting there at this really nice restaurant, and my phone starts buzzing. I look down, and I got a text from Sock Boy, which is his name in my phone. And all it says is, "Hey man, need a shipment." And I was like, shit. I was like, you know what? I forgot to tell her about this. I was like, do I tell her now? I was like, I've already been married and divorced for it. I was like, do I tell her now that what I'm doing, or do I just wait till after we're married? I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get it all out here. And I was like, honey, there's something I gotta tell you. It was just like candlelight. I mean, just real romantic. I was like, I've got this guy in Georgia, actually the same hometown that you're from. It's true. I was like, there's this guy there, and he buys my socks. And I made this face, like, and she's like, oh my God, you didn't even tell me you made socks. I'm like, no, don't make them. So I was like, no, it's the socks that I wear on stage, and then I don't wash them, and then I put them in a package and I ship them to them. Her face was literally the worst thing I'd ever seen in my life. Like, it looks like what she looks like when she sips an IPA, because she hates them. And it was just like all just distorted. And I was like, I know. And she's like, I don't even know what to say right now. She's like, how much does he give you? And I was like, well, it's like $500 to $750 a pair. And then the next day, she took over the business, and she's a lot better at it than I am. Which sucked, because she had me working even harder. She's like, you need to fucking run. I'll get $1,000 out of this pair. I was like, honey, I don't run. So this goes on for a while. And then it just stops. Sock Boy just disappears from both of our phones. Like, he quits contacting us, which made me nervous, because I thought he'd finally gotten caught. Because I thought he was probably planting my socks at every murder scene, and I was pissed too, because I thought, hey, I'm gonna get a Netflix special as a serial killer before my comedy special, and I was so mad. But I mean, I would have taken it as long as there's money. But so he just disappears. So then it's almost Christmas one year. All of our kids are like 8th grade, 7th grade, middle schoolers, and we're broke, because remember, she went back to school, and I'm a comedian. So getting paid in free PBR doesn't always pay the bills. So she's like, you gotta call Sock Boy. She's like, Christmas is coming, we need money. You gotta call Sock Boy. I was like, I don't think he likes me anymore. I think he's moved on. She's like, give me your damn phone. I hear the phone, she's texting, a few minutes go by, she's like, all right, hold on. Next thing I know, she goes into the bathroom, and all I hear is all the drawers in the bathroom just opening and closing. I walk in and I was like, what are you doing? She's like, I just sold all of your used razors, toothbrushes, deodorant, everything that you have touched. Boxers, socks, shoes, all of it. It's going in a box, $5,000. He's already PayPal'd the money. I was like, I pulled up my PayPal, I was like, holy shit. And I was like, wow. She's like, yeah. She's like, bad news, we actually have to meet him for the first time ever. It's been like 6-7 years at this point. I never met the guy. She's like, yeah, we gotta meet him, and we gotta meet him at Christmas when we go to my parents' house in Dalton. We're just gonna drop the shit off to him and give it to him in person, because this box is too big to ship. It's big, just don't worry about it. So, fast forward, Christmas on our way. The meeting spot was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Dalton, Georgia, in a McDonald's parking lot. We're in our minivan with all 3 kids in the back seat. So we're just sitting there, and the kids are like, Dad, what are we doing? I'm like, just don't worry about it. Well, it shouldn't be too, we're getting close. I felt like it was like, I was like Kevin Spacey in 7. Like, it's coming, just watch for it. So we're sitting there. Here it comes, black BMW 750, McDonald's parking lot, Dalton, Georgia, 3 o'clock. It's like 2 days before Christmas. I was like, kids, I'll be right back. I asked my wife, I was like, which box is it in the back? She's like, the Christmas tree. I was like, that much stuff? She's like, oh yeah, he's got everything that you've ever touched. It was a fake Christmas tree box, this tall, full of stuff. So I grab it, I'm walking by, and I can hear the kids in the car going, why is Dad selling our Christmas tree to a dude in Georgia in a McDonald's parking lot? And I'm like, I don't know, kids, I don't. I was like, you wouldn't have Christmas if this didn't happen. So just give me a minute and let me talk to the weird fucker and I'll be right back. So I go up to the guy, I was like, hey, thank you, I appreciate the money, here's all your shit. I was like, I don't ever want to talk to you again. It's been a fun 7, 8 years, whatever it's been. Well, I'll see you later. He's like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, you're weirder looking in person than I thought you were going to be. All right, I'm leaving. So he quit texting me. 2 years go by. 2 years go by, 0 from Sock Boy. Then one night, my wife and I are sitting there watching a movie in our living room, just kicking back on the couch. I get a buzz on my phone. I look down, and it's Sock Boy out of nowhere. And it says, hey, I will give you guys $8,000 right now to listen to you have sex on the phone for 5 minutes. I was like, okay, he's crossed the line. I was like, socks were one thing, razors was one thing, that's fine. Now he wants to listen to me and my wife have sex. This is really creepy. And my wife's like, who's texting you? I was like, Sock Boy out of nowhere. I was like, what the fuck? She's like, oh, that's weird. I didn't even know he was still alive. I was like, me either. She's like, what did he say? I was like, here, you read it. She goes, 8 o'clock. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, we're doing that. I was like, no, that's creepy. She's like, no, we're doing it. She's like, now, I need you to get the kids and drive them to your dad's house in Sevierville, which is 45 minutes away, and then come back and we'll do it. I was like, what? You know we've had sex in the house with the kids here before, right? And she's like, this one's different. And I'm like, okay. And so I get the kids, I drive them to my dad's house. My dad's like, what's going on? Is everything okay? I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure. But it's a lot of money. But I get back. My wife has moved the mattress from our bedroom, and it's just on the living room floor now with no sheets on it. It's just like a dead mattress. I'm like, what's the mattress for? She's like, I don't know. I just thought this would be a good idea. I'm like, okay. So the rule was, 8 o'clock, we don't talk. I'm not talking to Sock Boy. I'm just hitting the button. He gets to listen for 5 minutes. We had a timer. When the 5 minutes is over, I hit the button. It's all over. That was the deal. So we both get naked. We get on the mattress. 7:59. I'm feeling pretty good. I hit the button to call him, and everything changed because I got so embarrassed and so, like, I didn't know what to do. I was like, now I've got a dude listening to me. And I looked at her, I was like, honey, I can't have sex. She's like, what? I was like, I can't have sex. It's like, none of this is working. I'm too embarrassed. I'm ashamed. What are we doing? She's like, well, we're both naked on the mattress, and this dude wants to listen, and we've already got the money. I was like, well, I don't know what to do. She's like, I got an idea. She turns around and just starts slapping her ass on my chest, and all he hears is, I'm like whispering to her, I'm like, honey, that's terrible. He's gonna know that's fake. She's like, well, you gotta do something, make a noise or something. I was like, okay. I was like, She's like, oh my God. She's like, that was so terrible. I was like, well, you do it. She's like, I was like, that was even worse. So for 5 minutes, all he hears is, It's like, it was the worst, most fake thing you've ever heard in your life.
Oh my God.
And I'm whispering to him, I'm like, honey, he's gonna know this fake, he's gonna want his money back. I was like, watch, as soon as we turn that off, he's gonna call. And so 5 minutes hits, I went boom. Literally seconds later, text. I was like, see, I told you, wants his money back. We read the text, and all it says was, dude, you guys are fucking freaks. And I was like, what? I was like, that worked? And she's like, apparently so. I was like, awesome. So I thought it was over. So I told him, I was like, seriously, for the last time, I don't ever want to talk to you again. That's it. And then COVID rolls around. And I get a job. I have to take my first real job in 12 years. Because all my shows got canceled because believe it or not, Rogersville doesn't pay that much. So I had to get a real job as a real estate broker. And I posted this on Facebook. Hey, I'm a real estate broker. Anybody needs a mortgage, I can help you out. A month goes by, and then I get a Facebook message from Sock Boy. Hey, I saw you're doing real estate. I was like, oh God, he's back. I was like, yeah, I'm doing mortgages now. He's like, man, I'm actually thinking about buying a cabin in Gatlinburg. Could you finance that for me? I was like, oh my God, he asked a normal question. The first time in 10 years I've known this dude, he has never asked me a normal question. I was like, sure, man, I'd love to do that, because I was sucking at the job anyways, and I was like, I need to finance somebody, even if it's Sock Boy. And I was like, yeah, man, I'd love to help you out. He's like, cool. He's like, yeah, let's get together. I was like, yeah, not a problem. He's like, so you're a mortgage broker now? I was like, yeah, we just talked about that. He's like, so does that mean you're wearing dress socks now? I was like, oh, fuck. So I'm back in. Woo! I'm shipping again, and I think he's broke though now. It's like $100 a pair, but still, you know, I'll take it. But Gatlinburg, I meet a lot of weird people in Gatlinburg, especially at the bar that these guys know that I go to. And I've got this one friend in Gatlinburg who likes to tell everybody that we meet in Gatlinburg that I'm a comedian, because he likes to see the response. It's either, hey, tell me a joke, or hey, let me tell you a joke, because you could probably use it, which I never can. So a few months ago, we're sitting out there having a beer on this little patio. These 4 couples walk up. 4 redneck Florida couples. And I'm from Florida, so I can say this. But they were really redneck Florida couples. And so they come up and we're sitting with them. And this one guy starts talking to us. He's like, yeah, man, I own the biggest biker bar in Daytona Beach. Because 3 times a year we get over 5,000 people come to this biker bar for big events. So my friend chimes in, he's like, hey, Alex is a comedian, you should book him for your next event. And before I could even chime in, the guy starts talking again. He's like, yeah, man, we got like wrestlers, we got midgets, and we got 3 titty shows a day. Like, he was so excited. There was a long pause and just dead eyes with this guy. And then before I could even respond to that, his even drunker, more redneck friend stands up and goes, yeah, man, last year I got a blowjob on the Ferris wheel. And I'm like, there's a Ferris wheel? And his wife is sitting right next to him. She stands up and she goes, yeah, it wasn't me. I'm like, who are you people? Like, where did you come from? So finally the other guy looks back at me and he goes, all right, so if I book you, like, what's your fee? Like, how much are you going to charge me to come down here and do shows? I was like, well, normally, for that many people and for a whole weekend and that far away, I was like, you're looking at like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. I was like, but I'll go ahead and settle for an all-day wristband to the Ferris wheel, because that sounded pretty good. So, come see me in Daytona in February of next year. Guys, thank you so much. Y'all have been a lot of fun tonight. One more round of applause for Mike D.